Hello and welcome to the Trevor Roberts Talk Fest. Tonight we're going to be covering Jenn Tran's season of The Bachelorette. I was not able to do videos for the first couple of episodes, and so I'm going to just go ahead and jump in and do the first 3 episodes and kind of cover it all tonight. I'm not going to go episode by episode. I'm actually going to go topic by topic. We'll kind of just work our way through all the different things that happen, the different drama lines, the different storylines. And I think it's actually going to be a much better flow than it can be when you just do the one episode at a time. Now, I am going to do each episode from here on out, just one at a time, but I went through my talking points and kind of like looked at some of the things I want to say, and I really like the way this is turning out. To start, I do want to do a few opening remarks. So, Jenn is the first Asian American bachelorette. Episode 1 didn't take place at Bachelor Mansion, which is a little weird, kind of funny. It took place at Hummingbird's Nest Ranch, and I think it probably had to do with money. That seems to be always the reason why these things happen, but I don't know. I just kind of can't figure out, like, how does this show not have all the money that it wants, like, or that it needs? I mean, it's very successful. We're on like the 22nd season of The Bachelorette. I think there's been 30 seasons of The Bachelor. There's Bachelor in Paradise. Like, they have plenty of money. I don't know. Just make it happen. And then quickly they move, like weeks 2 and 3 are taking place in Melbourne, Australia, and they can't even move to like another part of the country. Like, uh or sorry, another part of the continent. Like they're in, I think that they call it states. So they're in the state of Victoria and they're in Melbourne. Um but there's like Sydney, it's a huge place, like a huge continent. You can't go somewhere else. I mean, it has to be related to money because they never travel that early, and then they do travel right away and just get out of LA, which is of course because they're not at the Bachelor Mansion. Like, they're probably paying a fortune for the Hummingbird place, right? So they go to Australia, but then they don't relocate. That's got to be to save money, right? I don't know. It just seems silly to me. It comes across as cheap too. Like, I don't want that when I'm watching the show. Um okay, so let's just keep the main thing, as Sam M would say, and let's just get into it. Now, I'm going to talk the least about episode 1. Sometimes the first episode where you get to know the people, the men or the women, I can actually get really into it. Like, Alex and I have sat down, got some food with the kids, we're watching it. You get all the introductions, and sometimes they just really hit. They're funny. You get the genuine ones. You see the ones where they really build a connection. There's some crazy statistic, like 45% of the time, somebody that the first person out of the limo wins. I don't know if that's true, but I heard someone talking about that. So I think it was Nick and or Evan and Jess from Your Mom and Dad. I think they were saying that. So I don't know if that's accurate. I need to look into it, but it's just interesting seeing the limo entrances. For whatever reason, I didn't actually find this episode to be very good at all. Um, I don't love the bromance that seems to be going on. Like, it does feel like sometimes when the bromance happens, it's always putting the lead first, but then they just became friends along the way. This just to me feels like they're, if like something happens with Jenn, that'd be sweet, but really, like, they're all excited about the opportunity to bro out. It could just be that as I get older every year, the average age of the contestants stays the same, like just lower. So I'm kind of moving farther away from that time in my life, and that makes me sound super old and lame. But I just wasn't into these dudes as much as I have been in the past. Um, Jonathan's entrance really stood out to me. I mean, he comes in like a mummy, can't see his face. I hadn't seen anything like that before. I didn't think it was that great at the time. I mean, he's a great looking guy, and as we get to know him, I love him more and more and more. But the big reveal almost felt like you need to be like a supermodel type looking dude, and he's just a regular looking dude. So I don't know. I think it just comes across like a gimmick to me. And that being said, I think it worked because you know, he takes it off. He's all smiles and he's genuine. So he makes it to round two. And part of the opening night is just making it to round two because there's so many people that get sent home on the opening night that you have to stand out in some way. And so it works. I'm just not like that. That wouldn't have been my personality. Jeremy shows up in a Corvette, and there's the whole thing with the car. He throws the keys to Jessie. He's really trying to make a statement. Jessie Palmer, though, is legendary to me. No way would I have done anything to belittle him for the better of trying to just get to episode two. Like, do things to make you stand out, but don't do it in a cheap way like that. Not to Jessie P. Not like that. Sam M gets the first impression rose. I think that's because we find out later they have a super strong physical connection. We'll talk more about Sam M as we go through this episode. As we go through all this, he's definitely not my favorite, not at all. But at the same time, she really likes him. So, and he did get the first impression rose. I think he's going to be around a long time. All right, so I think that's all I really need to say about episode one. The people that got sent home, we're not going to talk about them. And the rest of the people are going to be in the next conversation with episode 2 and 3. Nothing else really stood out about it. I guess the only other thing I will say is that Jenn really came across to me in Joey's season as not immature. Like, that's not the word, but like, when they announced it was going to be her season, it was shot o'clock. And she had some where she opens up and where she talks about her family. Those moments were really good, but a lot of it felt like just a younger Jenn. Feels like since however much time, which has probably only been a few months that's gone by since Joey's season ended and she's now the Bachelorette, she has matured in big, big ways. And that can't really be, I mean, I'm sure she just was already that mature. And so maybe she's kind of like taking this a little bit more seriously, but it's coming across really well to me. I was very nervous. I was like, this is going to be the fun season. It's shot o'clock. It's going to be partying all the time. Like just the way she really came across in that, I think it was the after the rose and we were announcing it was Jenn. I really did. And that was just not my vibe. I didn't really want that. I am more of been with my wife since 2011, like, hopeless romantic. And so I'm more into that. And Jenn has just really matured in a big way. And so I think that that's really cool. She's coming across really well. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Devin stuff. So it's Devin and Aaron, Sam M, and Thomas N. And there is some nuances to this drama that I want to talk about. Hold on a sec. It's like crazy hot where I'm at. Okay. That's way better. One second. Okay. It's basically Devin versus everyone. And Devin is the best. Devin is making the season. It's excellent TV. He has a huge mouth. Reminds me of like a good friend of mine, Keaton. And Keaton may or may not agree with that, but Keaton can just talk a million miles an hour and he can just go from one thing to the other. But Keaton can also listen, and he's an excellent, excellent friend, really deep, been through a lot. So it seems like Devin's the same way. Like Devin can talk a lot and he can just like, he's very quick with his words, but he can also listen and he seems to be very deep. What what I really like about the way Devin handles himself too is he throws in moments of humility and taking the high road. And then, in the same conversation, he throws in some childish, immature moments and he's a little braggadocious, like he kind of has both of it and it's fun. And he antagonizes his competition. He's very confident. But he says things that make complete sense. Like Aaron, for example, is like, yeah, just shoot your shot, man. He talks so slow. And Devin's like, yeah, I'm shooting it. I'm shooting my shot. But you don't like the way I shoot my shot, which is like, he's so quick. You have to be smart to be quick witted. And not that you like, sometimes you just don't talk that fast. Like, I am not a quick witted person and I think I'm intelligent, but I mean, to be that quick, your mind has to work fast. And he can just say things, but he doesn't come across like he's rambling. He doesn't come across like his mouth is moving faster than his mind. He knows what he wants to say. There's one point where he's talking about Aaron, you're deep analyzing the way I tick. You don't like the way I tick, but just let me tick. Like, let me tick. Like, I'm ticking, just let me tick. And to me, he's basically just saying, you're so worried. Like, Aaron's big concern is that he doesn't think Devin is ready for this. And Devin is just basically saying, like, dude, like, this is just who I am. This is my personality. This is the way I go about things, but you don't know what my deep intentions are. You don't know what my conversations are like with her. And this is just who I am. So just let me be this way. Like, it's not up for you to decide. It's up for Jenn. And Aaron is really taking it upon himself to, like, almost like be Jenn's decision or be Jenn's voice. I think it's great to be protective of someone. Like, if it was Aaron's sister and he was very protective of her and he, sort of had earned the right to be like standing up to interested suitors and be like, look, I don't think you're ready and I'm going to let her know that. But he's only known her for a week. He doesn't know her at all. He has no more right to do that than any of the other men there. And really, he doesn't, like, none of them have that right. It's really just Jenn's decision. So he doesn't come across well, even though his intentions are good. And Devin he's really not doing anything that bad. I mean, like, the reason this all gets started is because Devin sneaks off with Jenn for some ice cream. And it's on a group date. And Jenn basically says, like, and before the group date starts, she's like, I hope some of them kind of find ways to get a little moment in. And he just sneaks off with her. Like, he grabs her hand in front of them and pulls her off. He's like, hey, we're just going to go over here. And the producers probably help set it up. And he goes and they grab like a bite of ice cream. And then the guys roll up like minutes later. Producers are behind the scenes, like, holding off the guys, being like, no, they're sneaking off for a minute. And then the guys talk amongst themselves about how it's bullshit. And then the producers are like, all right, you can go interrupt them again. It's like, this is all being set up for them. And it's just a couple minutes. And then the guys like make such a big deal about it. And maybe it's just to get some air time. Aaron is Noah's brother, and Noah would have debriefed Aaron, like, here's how to play everything, here's how to do everything. And so, like, maybe Aaron just knows, like, hey, if anything goes down, anything, I need to make it a thing so that I can get some airtime, but I have to be careful in the way I approach it. I don't know, but I don't really know. I mean, Aaron and Noah seem to be so different. Like, Noah's actually a lot more like Devin with his, like, I mean, he kind of grew up a little bit when we saw him on Bachelor in Paradise, and I think he's in his long-term relationship now. Can't remember her name. But Aaron is so serious all the time, and he's in the Air Force, and he talks super slow. He doesn't have that personality. He's so rigid and like even says something to her. I've got it in my notes, but he's like, I know I kind of come across as like the serious, and Jenn's like, oh, really? Like, Yes, you're super serious, and so it's not like it's weird to me that Aaron would have a problem with Devin. It's almost like he has a problem with his brother Noah, and this is triggering him in some way. But it could just be that Noah was like, you need to find something to make an issue so that you can find a reason to get on TV. And that's just part of what comes with the reality TV show. Obviously, they're all there to get followers, to get more of a social media presence. And so, I mean, I think that they truly hope that it could work out with Jen, or maybe they hope that they'll go on Bachelor in Paradise and something could hope to work out there. But I really think that everyone's main goal at this point is to get followers, probably even Jen's, and I think that that's okay. I don't know why we always say so much crap about wrong reasons, other than it is really the lead's life. I mean, you just kind of see both sides of that. But all right, so let's go over to Aaron, then pulls Devin aside to talk about it, and he calls him Dylan. Now, when this first happened, I honestly just thought he was like messing with him. And I was like, oh yeah, he's just calling him Dylan to kind of like just like really low ball, give him crap. Like, I don't even know your name. And Devin's like, dude, my name's not Dylan, it's Devin. And Aaron's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. It's like, but he doesn't look like he really cared that much. But then later in the episode, he does it again. And it's just like, is it that they had major jet lag from flying from LA to Australia, which is crazy? Like, it's so long. It's like 17-hour difference, huge flight. That could be. It could be that he's tired and he's only known him for a week. But at the same time, come on, man. Like, Devin was like, dude, naming every single person off just to prove, like, yep, know your name, know your name. Like, not that hard. Wasn't even like trying to know everybody's name. No, I know everybody's name, you know? Then later, in the group date, Devin interrupts Aaron during his time. It's like the evening portion of the group date, and he goes in with that shopping cart full of ice cream, and Aaron is so pissed. And then Aaron like is talking with I think Thomas or something, and Aaron decides to come back in, and then like basically 30 seconds later, Devin comes right back in, interrupts him again, and then he's like getting smooches. Aaron's all pissed. Um, it's like a thing, and Aaron just can't get over it. He's now like totally not there for the right reasons. Like, he accused, like, later he drops that big bomb. But it's like he's now there just to be mad at Devin or Dylan. Um, then later at the cocktail party, Devin pulls Jen first, and I've watched that episode twice now. And I just really wanted to analyze, like, um the first time you watch it, Devin doesn't come across that well because, like, the second half of the guys, they basically go on that animal group date that I'm basically just not going to talk about because it was fine. It was fun. I'm terrified of spiders. Hakeem, in his reactions, is incredible to watch. So that part was really fascinating to me. But the whole thing with Dylan, that was nice too. She got some time with Dylan. He gets the rose and all that. That was cool. But basically, like, the main thing to know there is that the other guys on that group date don't get any evening portion with Jen. And so they come back and they basically ask the bigger group if they can kind of go first during the cocktail party because they haven't had time. And it seems like everybody's in agreement. And Devin says, he was very clear. Now, I didn't write this down, so I'm going off of memory here, but he didn't say, I will let you guys go first. He said, I think we need to respect that you guys deserve a little more. And then he says, but he like clarifies, like, like, I'm not gonna give up my place in line or something like that. So I wish I wish I would have wrote it down. But he was very clear that they deserve more time but he wasn't going to give them any special place in line. Now, he doesn't say he's going to go first, but he does say, like, I think he says, I'm not giving up my place in line. So he's not going to allow them all to go or whatever. And if you pay attention, every single time there's an opportunity, a group date or a cocktail party, Devin's like first, second, or third to talk to her. Like, that must be his thing, is he's always going to ask early. He just like doesn't care. He's not like I think he wants to be friendly with the guys, but he wants to progress farther down the show. I think he is into Jen, but I think he knows, like, in this game, some people don't get time. And so I'm always going to go first, which is, in my opinion, what I would do too. It's very smart. You don't have to be as big of a jerk about it. You can almost try to, like, not make it a thing and just be like, yeah, like, don't say anything about it to the guys and just be like asking for time right away. I mean, Jonathan sneakily does this. If you know, like, if you pay attention, like, there's times where there was one time where Jen does her little speech. They cheers. They're all taking a drink. They're all sitting down, and like Jen's butt hasn't even hit the couch yet. And he looks at her. He just happens to be sitting right next to her, and he's like, "Well, that being said, do you mind if I steal you away?" And he takes her. None of the guys care at all. No one says anything. But Devin, has to do it in such this big way. But so Devin ends up pulling her first, that cocktail party, and Thomas then just loses it. But they're all kind of losing it. And Spencer was gonna go. Now, I didn't really see if Spencer was that mad about it, or if I don't really know where he was at with it, but Sam M stops him and says, "Hey, Spencer, hold up, let's let Thomas go." And Sam is like one of the loudest with the guys about how this is bullshit. But he stops Spencer and has Thomas go. And Jess was talking about this on their review of episode 2, and I think she was right on when she said that Sam knew that Thomas just flies off the handle. And like, you end up seeing Sam and Thomas having all these side conversations. Sam is almost like kind of riling him up a little bit, because Thomas, he's the one that uses the more, like, he'll be like, he drops the F bomb all the time. Like, he tells Kevin, or oh, now I'm doing it. He tells Devin to shut the fuck up like 3 times. He just says fuck. He's constantly, and then he says things with such anger in his voice. He looks pissed all the time. He is like, he goes and grabs Devin's hand and like is like pulling him away when he goes in there. And he does this right in front of Jen. Basically just takes him right around the corner. Jen's like, can clearly hear. And then he's like, dude, this wasn't cool. You lied to all 8 of us. And that really is pretty damning for Devin right in front of Jen. But Devin like somehow comes out of it and he's like, where did you want me to stand in line? And he's like, 9th. And Devin's like, 9th? Like, you're objectifying her. You're making this decision for her. I am going to give you guys more time, but I didn't say I wasn't going to go first. I didn't say I was going to wait in line. And Jen is like, totally agrees with him. Now, she is a little annoyed with Devin because Devin seems to be in the middle of drama. Like, he was already in the back and forth with Aaron. Now he's in a back and forth with Thomas. And I'm sure Jen is noticing. Like, yep, Devin's involved again. They're all mad. Plus, there was the whole roast of Devin. And, I'm sure that she felt a little bit, like, bad for Devin. But also, like, you don't get roasted by all the guys unless you've done something. Because they don't just hate on a guy for no reason. Right? So she knows that there's 2 sides to it. Right? So, but she doesn't look that. I think ultimately she's annoyed with Devin for causing all this, but she agreed with him. Thomas's time then, meanwhile, is like totally wasted because they basically just talk. She's just lecturing Thomas on how the way he handled that wasn't great. Yet he's like making it. I feel like that's producers. I really don't think she likes Thomas, but he's like helping with the ratings basically. So the Devin drama, I'm here for it. It's so funny. And then you get to see the other side of Devin too, where he's talking about like um and the next episode with the dirty dancing. Like he talks about how he had weight issues. He worked hard on that, but dancing in front of all these people when he doesn't have a like one of the better bodies of all the men, he just felt a certain type of way about it, and he only really felt like he could do it because it was Jen. So he thanks her for that, and then he ends up getting the group date rose because he allowed himself to be vulnerable and he leaned into it. He's confident, but he was even confident in something that isn't his strength. I mean, Sam M was confident, but he probably had the best body out of all the guys, except maybe Jonathan. Jonathan like looked pretty good in his fireman outfit. But Devin, wears the like Speedo thing, which is just funny, and his whole dance was funny, and like you could tell the other judges were loving it. Um, let's see. I wrote down Sam M is sneaking off with Thomas, and they're just talking shit about Devin, and Devin kind of knows that this is happening. And then Sam M is confronting Devin every chance he gets in front of the men. And this is the thing. Let's just go ahead and switch gears to Sam M now. Um, Sam, Jen really likes him. He gets the first impression rose. He's always hardcore flirting with Jen. It's like, I think she says that he flusters her, and he says that she bothers him, and they have that thing. And that's a thing that Sam does too. They get these little moments, like these little inside phrases that they say. Like there's another thing where she's like, I think this is a PG show. And then later during the dance thing, he kind of gets up close and he whispers like, this isn't PG right now, or something like that. And so he's just really good. Like he definitely has a lot of game. He knows he's got the southern thing going on. He's got like the sleeve tattoo. He's built. He leans hardcore into the dancing stuff, the thunder down under, and then with the guys, he's like, yeah, this isn't cool. He's super macho. Devin sucks. Devin, I no respect for guys like Devin. And he's choosing to respect the really macho guys. Whereas Devin is like more of a fun guy, funny guy, has more of like a troubled background. He's been through a lot. Sam M is probably like the coolest guy that he like in school his whole life. And that's the guys he's kind of being friends with. So it's obviously very attractive to women, and Jen is physically attracted to him. They're making out hardcore every time. Like that's basically Sam just like skips the conversation and goes into making out with her. And but what I just think is so interesting is that he's smart, and that when he's with the guys, he makes it a big thing. When he's with Jen, he never says anything about it. It's all just making out. And all their little moments, their little flirty things that are just for them. Like, oh, I think he says he's Chef Fluster. And no one's going to get that but her. And you see that instantly she rolls her eyes. No one else really knows what's going on, but she likes it. And every time we see an ITM with her, she's into it. Now, it's really rubbing me the wrong way, where I'm just like, how does she not see this guy is just got mad game? But like, we don't really know if he likes her. I think he's just good at this stuff with anybody. Um, but we have to remember that she doesn't get all the ITMs like we do. And she doesn't see how he is with the guys. So when he comes around to her, he's like making, and he keeps like, he's the one that keeps saying, I got to keep the main thing the main thing. So when he's in front of Jen, he is truly just keeping it to his time with her and making out. He never talks shit about anyone. It's really smart. Like it's such a smart way to play the game. And as much as that's an obvious way to go about it, no one ever does that. Like maybe people do, but not to the same extent where like if they go with like the lead and they don't talk about the other guys, usually they're not involved in the drama. And if they are involved in the drama it almost always gets brought up somehow. They're having a conversation with the lead about it. He's somehow like doing both. Okay. Let's go to the one-on-ones. We'll talk about the one-on-ones. It's way too early to say who's going to be like the final four, you know? I'd love to make some guesses. I'll just do it right here. Now that I brought that up. Now I'm saying it's way too early. I'll go ahead and do it. Right. So I think I want to say Devin. Let's go with Sam M. He's definitely going to be one. Marcus. Um, I don't know. I think I'm just going to say Devin and Spencer. I got to think more on that. And that's why I was saying it's too early. But Marcus, he's just got like, okay, so it's obviously going to be the jumping out of the plane date. It just like the way the date card was like, let's jump or let's fly or something like that. It was so obvious. I watched this episode twice and I just really don't care about the flying out of the. It's not a great date for in real life. Like you don't get to talk a lot. Usually they end up falling on top, like the people that are behind them with the actual shoot, like land on top of the Bachelorette, which kind of happened. Marcus like sticks the landing because he's done it a million times. Um, what was really interesting to me was hearing about Marcus's story, which was so sad with his tour in Afghanistan. And he had been on a lot of tours, it sounded like. An Army Ranger for 8 years, going on raids in the middle of the night. That is like heroic stuff. That is stuff I could never do. And that's just like terrifying for me. I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be around that much violence. I feel like there's PTSD involved with it. And I do take that stuff really seriously. I would not want anything to do with that. So, that kind of stuff really is like, sometimes like Spencer talked about the big moment he shared was he got cheated on and how hard that was. And that's happened to me too. Oh, sorry. That has also happened to me, not the grenade thing. The cheating sucks and it can take you to a dark place. But I mean, I think there's no way around that, like getting hit by a grenade and spending months in hospitals. He says surgery after surgery after surgery. Then he spends months learning how to walk, breathing through a tube. And he says there's life before that and there's life after that. And yeah, I have to admit that that's a little more intense than any of the cheating I've been through. So that's the kind of real stuff that I think has to have moved Jen. And then later we see with Marcus when she has her blow up moment after like Aaron really just got her all riled up because of his like leaving and then dropping the bomb about people being there for the wrong reasons. She asks for Marcus. She's like, Marcus, can you come back with me? And Marcus is just like, yep. Like, because he just got like totally shocked by her speech there. But then I just feel like Marcus is like her comfort. She was upset. She didn't expect that. Aaron totally dropped a bomb on her, and then she's shocked and she's upset, and she asked for Marcus, and then he does a really good job of genuinely like saying how he felt when she said that. And then he's like, no, I am here for the right reasons. Also, during the striptease, um, he did the whole astronaut thing. He probably didn't stand out as like the best, but Jen even made a comment that she didn't really think he had a lot of that in him, and he did it. And I think he definitely leaned into it. Like he was kind of going hard at it, and that probably isn't something he does very often. So she says that she liked seeing that in him. I think there's way less sexual tension with him than some of the other guys. I think she probably admires him in like a manly way because of the tours and all the things he's been involved in and the things he's seen. and then I think he comforts her. But I don't. Maybe there's not sexual tension is not the best word, but a chemistry between the two of them. But I don't think he's gonna win, but I do think he's definitely top four because he's just like probably the most stand up guy. Um, let's moving on to Spencer. Um, they get the helicopter ride and they get to go see the 12 apostles. Um, I never heard of the 12 apostles. It looks sweet. I definitely would like to see that. Um, like these giant limestone towers. I've been to the Cliffs of Moher, which is sort of like giant rock thing standing up on the edge where you see the water coming in. Very like Harry Potter and the caves type scene, which is really cool. Like, so I mean, I would be all into it. Again, not a great way to talk. It looked like they were having champagne, but helicopters are loud. So I'm not sure they were getting a lot of conversation in. We go to the night portion of that date. Um, he shares that he's been engaged before. They bought a house. A few months before the wedding, she moves out and goes back with her mom, says she needs to think about things. He finds out there was cheating involved. I thought he handled it really well because this woman like has friends and family and a real life, and obviously they all know that it's her. All right. So all the people in her life are gonna hear she doesn't come across very well, right? And he doesn't really throw her under the bus that hard. I mean, he's like, yeah, it hurt me. I went to a dark place. She betrayed me. So he does say some hurtful things, but he basically says he doesn't know the full extent of it, quickly moves on from it. We don't get a lot of details. Then he kind of drops that and makes it about, like, yeah, I am ready, though. It's been 4 years. I'm 100% ready. It just to me came across like he needed to share something. Um, Now, I don't know. Maybe he went to a really, really dark place and we didn't get to hear about it a lot. Maybe we'll hear more about it later. It was hard for me to read it because it was like, yeah, it is a dark place. It is like a tough situation. But he seemed, when she was like, well, are you ready now? And he was like, oh yeah, 100%. Like that was 4 years ago. Like I'm good. He almost started laughing. So he's not affected today by that situation. And if he's not affected today, is this like the hardest thing he's ever been through? Is my mind, which is fine. Like maybe he just hasn't been through a lot of hard things. I don't think, but that's my whole point is like, I think they want you to share something hard, but not everybody does. And I think it's okay. If you haven't been through something hard, then don't share it, you know? Because, like, it's definitely affecting that girl's life. And like, not like I'm on her side, I mean, I'm not, but that doesn't mean she needs to be, this is national TV. This is a big deal. Um, I guess I'll wrap that up by saying Spencer came across really well, though. I think she really likes him. I think he came across very genuine. I think that he is into Jen and is like really liking this process. I think he's going to be around for a while. I don't know if he's going to be top four. I don't think he's going to win, but I think that they're hitting it off, and I can see top six for sure. I personally like him a lot. All right, let's just talk about the Thunder Down Under a little bit more. Those four dudes were massive. They all made the Bachelor guys look small. I do think Sam M was able to pull off some moves, but he looked tiny next to those dudes. Jonathan did great. He did win the dance off. He really crushed it with the fireman outfit. And then when he rips off the pants and he's got Jen on his butt, that was hilarious. Devin was great as the dirty detective. Talk about Sam N saying, cuts the music and says the love word. It He definitely did seem really uncomfortable, and I do think he's falling, and I do think that's because he hasn't done a lot of this type of stuff before, and so his body's just like feeling it. And obviously, he's not great at timing how to say that type of stuff. He's learning, and Jen was really good with it. I want that being said, I 100% think Jen has some strong connections. I think she might see him more as like a guy that, she almost pities. Not in a bad, super big pity way, but like I don't think she in any way has sexual tension with Sam N. I don't think they're making out. I don't think I don't think she in any way is going to pick him. But he is going to make it a little bit farther because he's the love virgin, and that's a producer thing, obviously, I guess. But I liked how Devin stood up for him Sam M and Thomas are going hard on how they took issue with it. Like, it's clearly just he didn't feel comfortable doing the dance thing. So that was his move. But then he kind of overstepped it. He kept calling himself pathetic. I feel like I've seen some seasons where the guys would all rally together and be like, no, that wasn't pathetic, dude. Like, it's all good. Don't worry about it. That was uncomfortable and we can all get past it. And like, they genuinely would. But that's what I mean. Like, Sam M and Thomas N are just not good dudes. They're very much like the evil, you know, you can be the coolest guy in school and not treat people like that. And I feel like they probably treated people just like that their whole life. Quickly, just want to say Jonathan, really crushing it. I'm not sure where Jen is at with him, but he's playing the game well. He comes in, he does the mummy thing. Smart move, right? Gets it, gets to round two. It wasn't for me. Really didn't like it. Didn't make a good first impression with me. But he does get to round two. Probably a producer thing. But then all of a sudden, it's like he's totally different person. He always looks super sharp. We learned that he's like creative design as part of his job. Um, he just has the coolest look. He's got a genuinely massive smile all the time. Comes across like the best dude ever. Um, what's not to like about the guy? And then when he talks, he's so like calm and he's like careful with what he says and he's thinking and he always makes it all about Jen. He really slows everything down. Again, big smiles, but then he can lean in and like crank up the fun and the energy with the Thunder Down Under, ends up winning that. Goes to the evening portion. He doesn't win that evening portion, but again, like he starts off by saying, "Hey, I know somebody's gonna sneak in here and get a lot of time." Might have been the cocktail party when he does this, but like he does this little move where like I know I'm not gonna get a lot of time. I think it was the cocktail party. Um, so he just goes like he just skips the conversation and just starts making out. Jonathan has not messed up once. He hasn't been involved in the drama. He has everything's memorable. Even though I think the whole thing was a gimmick, like you're not gonna forget the mummy thing. And then from then on out, it's like way genuine smiles, fun, crushes the Thunder Down Under. Like he's doing great. Then we get the final cocktail party. Um, Aaron goes first, drops out. I didn't really have an issue with it. Um, you know, it's tough. I think he probably made the wrong call. Like, I don't know. That just being said, like, I don't know the full extent. He says that whatever that was, like, he had like this Air Force flight training program opened up. He was going to get a spot and he needed to go now. Okay. And that makes sense. Like, they're not going to wait. And I get that. But he says it's now or never, like now or dream's over. Well, is that really true? Like, there's gonna be another class. Maybe it's a year from now. Maybe it's like in a quarter, 6 months. Even if it's a year, you go on this show and you make it pretty dang far, which he probably would have. And he's Noah's brother. He is now huge on social media. And then a year later, he still goes into the flight school, but he could be working on that the whole time, doing stuff with Noah. I just think that the opportunity that he gave up is big. So I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I agree with that decision. Um, then he lets Jenn down. She handles it super gracefully. Says she would do the same thing. Then he's very cryptic. Says he won't name names, but some guys are there for the wrong reasons, and some guys are not ready. Jen's like, well, come on, who are they? And he won't say. He says, I'm going to leave this up it's for you to figure out. And Jen's like obviously pissed by that answer and just like throws him out. And then she goes down and like yells out all the guys. All the guys, like Hakeem's eyes are just huge. And I just want to talk about this little conspiracy for a second. Okay, so who's he talking about? Well, Devin is definitely the one that's not ready. I don't think he thinks Devin is there for the wrong reasons, though. Now, he says some guys both times. Some guys. So is that 2 and 2? Like 2 guys aren't ready? 2 guys are there for the wrong reasons? I think it's possible that he says some guys because it's plural, but really only one guy is not ready, and maybe there's multiple guys not there for the right reasons. Now, that being said, I think everybody's not there for the right reasons. I genuinely believe every single person goes to get a social media following. So it's just, are they actually willing to do the engagement thing if they win? Is kind of the question. Are they interested in that? Hopefully it's both. Like, yeah, I want to get a social media following just like the lead, but I'm also like interested in getting engaged. And it's like obviously the person that's the lead is a massive catch. So like if they're in love with you by the end of the show, and the show's just naturally going to make you like them. So I think that people go into the show being like, well, I could like fall in love with like an extremely beautiful, attractive, eligible bachelorette. So like that wouldn't suck. And also I'm gonna get, if I win, like I'm gonna get the following, which is what they really want. But that being said, like who's obviously standing out as not being there for the right reasons. And I don't know who he's talking about. I think it's interesting. Part of me thinks it could be Sam M, but they're like good friends. But because they're good friends, Aaron might actually know that he's not there for the right reasons. And maybe that's why Aaron doesn't want to say his name. Because, like, it's totally all left vague. Devin's definitely the one that he's saying isn't ready. Because he said that to Devin's face. But I think that Aaron was talking about Sam M. Now, maybe he also was throwing in Thomas as well. And I don't know about Thomas as much. Okay. Let's see, Jen. Before I move forward, yeah. Okay, so Marcus, then I mentioned this before, calms her down. Sam M says he's not worried because Aaron wasn't talking about him, but that's the whole thing. Is I think he was. Devin does a good job again. Just get behind me. He says he'll take the punches. Jessie P. Unfortunately, the cocktail parties come to an end. When you're ready, see you at the rose ceremony. And then at the rose ceremony, we get Marcus first. Sam M is towards the end, not the very end, but towards the end. I was surprised that Austin made it, but Then when I realized only 2 guys got sent home, the one guy I didn't even really know at all. He was a snake whisperer. That's it. That's all I know about him. The other guy that got sent home was Hakeem. I did notice that she's making out with almost everybody but like Sam N. And I think he's staying around because he's the love virgin, and Hakeem. And so I think there just wasn't the sexual thing there. But that sucks because I love Hakeem's like facial expressions, reactions, his energy. Like, I just think like maybe Austin could have got sent home, or John M. Those guys seem like great guys, but there's really no person, like we haven't got to know them very much. And Hakeem we have. Um, that's just like a bummer. Like I like Hakeem's personality and his fun. Like he would have kept just fun reactions to everything throughout the show. So I think it's a bummer that he's going out. Next week's premiere, like little teaser, looked great. There's gonna be like, I don't know if it's like an old boyfriend or if it's Joey or what. They're really teasing us with some guy showing up. I hope it's actually um like a guy returning or something, and not just like Joey there to say hi or something. It looks like there's definitely the drama continues with Sam M and Devin. No surprise there. Um, but overall, I am just very excited to be back talking about this. I'm really, really excited to get to know more about just the overall community, the people that love this show, the contestants, the people that talk about this show. So I'm going to try to get more into that so I can talk a little bit more about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, thanks. Bye.